Leave meeting. See ya.
How are you? Welcome. Another installment of Monkey Mind Podcast Chatter about the chatter. We've got another guest on all the way from British Columbia. We have honestly, in only the space of a week, I have had chats with people from Australia. We've had the UK. I don't think I've hit the United States, but you are right on the other side of Canada, Carl. In all fairness,
Yeah.
you are on the opposite side of us. Brilliant.
West Coast, yeah. Well, three miles from the coast and West Coast. It sounds like a very Commonwealth podcast so far. Australia, Canada. So
Yes.
you're really working within the kingdom still.
Still, absolutely. You've got to keep it a little bit British somehow. That's absolutely fantastic.
Right.
Well, Carl, we don't actually know each other. That's the beauty of this is collecting,
Right.
telling stories. I know we reached out through the Monkey Mind Facebook group, and I know we spoke briefly. But since starting doing podcasts, one of the first people that popped in mind, I was like, do you know what? I need to chat with that guy, because the whole premise of the podcast is giving alternative therapies, different mindsets, giving people options about not taking antidepressants, whether people are on antidepressants. I always send out the message of I am not a medical professional in any way, so I wouldn't be the kind of person to be able to say you shouldn't be taking antidepressants. But if people understand the knowledge of how sometimes non-effective antidepressants are, and there are alternative medicines, alternative ways to see things. And I know that your company is a huge company all the way over in Canada, Clear Impact Consulting, and you are a director and partner. I know you said don't mention the director part. You'd be happy with the partner.
I'm just happy to help people. That's really what we should be here for.
It is. We are here to help. And that's the whole point of the podcast, Chatter About the Chatter. I know you're well-versed in Monkey Mind because I know we've spoken about it. I come from a place of meditation, and I think meditation is just
brilliant.
Beautiful, phenomenal, more or less free. You can do this absolutely anywhere, not when you're driving. That's about the only time I wouldn't suggest when you were doing it. Or but no, I that's the reason we started this. So Carl, this is all about you and talking about what you bring to the table, because I know we're going to talk about plant medicine, finding God, but in a different metaphor, which is going to be a huge part, talking about the Landmark Forum, plant-based as well, creating those habits and those excuses that we create, which are our myths.
Yeah. Cuddy, I think I love what you said, that there's a many different paths to enlightenment. And all those things you've mentioned are things that I've tried and that I've done. And I've done those things for me.
Yep.
Right. And because I've been attracted to them. And we very much believe that we're all unique individuals and we're going to find our path. That's our path. And it's not going to be the same as anyone else. And the people we work with, we offer a wide range of things to try that they're going to be attracted to. And we were talking offline about cold thermogenesis, about getting cold, jumping in a cold river, and how therapeutic that is.
Yeah.
Not for everybody. Some people say, not a chance am I doing that. But I love that you come from a place of meditation. And the reason I love that is because something we feel regulation and calming the mind to create the space for choice, calming the mind to create the space to attract the life and the abundance that we want. And if I can give you, if you'll not, shut me down after 5 minutes here, I'll give you sort of a background of our sort of basis of why we feel this way.
Good.
We evolved to be healthy and fulfilled and happy naturally in sync with nature. We're an animal like any other mammal. We evolved to have our feet on the ground, to have the beautiful, glorious sunlight nurturing us, to have whole natural foods, to have strong tribe human connections, to have, to get good sleep in the darkness of night, all of these things. So we evolved like any other animal to be in sync with our environment. And that takes tens of thousands of years, right? Normal. If we're, if we were hunters that were really fast, maybe we'd start to evolve large fangs and be able to grab our prey. Instead, we evolved brains so we could, sharpen a stick instead.
Yeah.
But it takes thousands of years, tens and hundreds of thousands of years. Unfortunately, what man has done, and the human race has done over the last couple of thousand years, but more importantly, just over the last 200 years, we've radically changed the environment that we live in. And really what happened a couple hundred years ago was we invented electricity. And that was the biggest curse that's befallen man in tens of thousands of years. Because what did electricity do for us? It allowed us to stay up at night, and it allowed us to work through the night, through the dark, when we're supposed to be connected to our circadian rhythm and getting our sleep, which is healthy. Our lymphatic system drains, and we cleanse our brain and all those beautiful things in sleep. We started to eat processed foods. We could make food that lasted a long time. We could store it in refrigerators. We could ship it long distances, so we could eat a much wider palette of food that we're not really naturally evolved to eat, because it is not hitting the same. If you really are into light, you'll understand when light hits things and hits food, we should be eating food local to us, because the same light is that's hitting our bodies, and there's science behind that.
Beautiful.
But eating all the processed food, if you look at every single area of wellness, we completely bastardized our environment over the last 200 years. And we as human beings can't adapt. And that's the key. We don't have the time to adapt. We don't have the tens of thousands of years to figure out how to live under artificial lights with blue screens, like right now, with blue screens, flashing in our faces. And because we can't adapt, it creates stress and inflammation and disease. 400 years ago, cancer, heart disease, blood pressure, diabetes, autoimmune disorders, autism were basically non-existent. We have created those things through stress and inflammation on our bodies and on our minds. And so we have to be, number one, present. What that's then done is all of the stress and inflammation, it's revved us up. It's shooting us into a nervous system state of fight or flight. There's only two states of the nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic, right? And the sympathetic state is the fight or flight state. What happens in the fight or flight state? When we get stressed, we react with something that's going to give us the energy to either fight or flight. And our brain says, our little survival brain shuts down this front cortex where we think, says, I just need to survive. Give me energy in the form of adrenaline or dopamine. And you know the things that create that? Sugar, alcohol, social media, Netflix, gambling, porn, shopping. All of these things feed the primitive brain when it's revved up and stressed out, right? So if we can take ourselves out of that inflamed, stressed out state back into the calm, rest, and digest state, a la your meditation.
Yes.
We teach a breath practice to do that in a very, very short period of time, just to get to a place of choice. Because when we're revved up, we can't choose. We just react, and we react with our habits. And how many times have you found yourself in the drive-through lineup at the fast food joint, or reaching for a joint or a scotch. I apologize if you're in Scotland. It's rye over here. And it's almost, we don't even realize we're doing it. We find ourselves in the liquor cabinet and we've got a scotch in our hand, and well, I really enjoy scotch. It tastes really good and this and that. Yeah, okay, that's your story. You're drinking it because you're trying to escape all this stress and inflammation.
Yes, the escapism.
So we live in a very toxic society and a toxic culture that we've created for ourselves. And then capitalism piles on. Capitalism is like the tag team wrestler that goes, all right, you're revved up, stressed. Now I can sell you shit. Now I can sell you sugar and alcohol and stupid gambling sites. And why do all these porn things and gambling things come up on my feed? It's not because I'm visiting them, Cuddy. But this is what happens. Our society, Starbucks is a great example. When Starbucks went public, the stock almost tripled in price immediately. They're selling something that's addictive, right? And they're selling it for $100 a cup because of the ambiance and the brand. And I want to be associated with Starbucks, which is all stress-related stuff. So not only have we changed our environment to be very toxic and very challenging for us as a physiological being to survive in, now our capitalist culture piles on and says, ha, 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 I got you now. Now I'll sell you shit. And I'll keep selling you shit that's bad for you. So we need to help people. We need to help ourselves, but we need to help people. And so how do we do that? And as you mentioned, is it okay if I just ramble? Because I talk
ramble. A lot. That's why I'm not saying anything. Right. I love it, Carl. Good to ramble. Go for it.
So there's lots of avenues out of this trap that we find ourselves in. And we're afraid, it's hard to take a step. It takes courage to say, no, I got to try something different because this isn't working. Because all of these bad habits, like we talked about, for all these bad habits actually give us moments of feeling okay. I feel pretty good when I've had 2 drinks, I'll tell you, Cuddy. And I'm a pretty funny drunk. But it's short term, right? The next day I've got a hangover. It hurts my body. It makes me. I was a guy that suffered with. I was a heavy guy most of my life. Still got a couple pounds probably that I could use for sure, but I was very unhealthy in that side of things, and because of my diet, my drinking, and all that stuff. So there's lots of different avenues out, and as you mentioned early on, avenue I took initially was I got connected to yoga. And then I got connected to changing my breakfast to a plant-based smoothie instead of the eggs and bacon and breakfast sandwich at the fast food joint and coffee. And that sort of calmed me down a bit. And then I went traveling, and I was fortunate enough to connect with a plant medicine shaman and organization in the jungles of Peru, and did some plant medicine work, which was much more aggressive. And we can get into some of that stuff. It was like, this is your shit. You need to deal with it. Now throw up for the next 2.5 hours and go after. But there's different paths for everybody, and I love what you're doing, because it's same but different than what we're doing. It's very similar, and I think in what we're doing is helping people to recognize that those thoughts in their head are not them. Yeah, they're just thoughts. Yeah. And once we can separate ourselves, and they're not going to shut up, they're going to be there, because that monkey's hard to kill. You can't kill it. You have to kill yourself, kill your ego. But then we can find the space for choice. We can find the space to move forward and choose how we want to feel and what we want to do. So you can go anywhere from plant medicine to, as you mentioned, Landmark Forum, which is a great program Adam and I have both taken, my business partner, Adam, which is great as well. You can go to therapy. You can meditate. You can just meditate for 10 years and find your path that way, because that is really connecting with the inner self. Or you can work with Cuddy, or you can work with Carl and Adam, and these are all. But realistically, we teach 3 things. We say you have to first deal with the obstacles if you're going to take care of yourself. Yeah. And the 2 obstacles you need to deal with is you need to calm your nervous system. Yeah. You need to find a place of calm, so we can be in the rest and digest state, which is where all the healing and health and happiness is. So we can be in a place of choice, and we need to calm this. We need to calm the limiting beliefs and all the negative thoughts, and replace it with positive thoughts, with positive beliefs about who we are. When we can do those 2 things, there's one other component that we need to move forward before we can start to make decisions around our sleep and our nutrition and our movement and our environment and our human connection, what we call the natural energy accelerators. Is we evolved to thrive and survive with a tribe, with support, with accountability, with someone to affirm us, with someone to hold us up when we're weak, with someone to clap for us when we're succeeding. And we evolved to thrive in a tribe. Yeah. And so, especially as men, we're taught, do it on your own, be an individual. You don't need any help. Don't ask for help. Don't cry. All that's bullshit. I'm a good crier. I cry a lot, dude.
Carl, let me tell you, I wanted to let you rumble. I really did. But you mentioned crying, right? And I know you don't know me that well, but I am 6'2". I am 3 feet wide. I do strongman training, and I do cold therapy because it helps my muscles because they're hurting a lot. Yeah. And I cry all the time, even sometimes.
It's awesome.
It is. It's such a release. And
awesome.
I love that. Honestly, I've got so many friends and they're like, are you crying? I'm like, yeah, I'm a bit emotional. I'm not going to lie. And they went, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm crying. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just,
absolutely
the mindset. It's unbelievable.
Right. And so, got to calm down. We got to deal with this, and we've got to have support. And it can be just a workout partner. It can be, it can be a spiritual guide. It can be a coach or a mentor like Cuddy or ourselves. It can be a group. People find it in a running group. They find it whatever. But we have to have support. When we have those things, then we can move forward. One more thing I want to mention is all of those things, we're all after the same thing. Getting past this and getting to this.
Yes, it's always that.
Living from the heart, living a heart-based life, based on love, based on compassion, based on self-worth. is what all of these different things are trying to do. Because once we get here, we're authentic. This is who we are. This is us. And this isn't us. And sorry, I have sometimes these mental moments where that little thing in the back here where the dementia lives comes forward and says, "Hey, I'm here, guy." I just completely lost the thought. Lost the train of thought. But yeah, they're all the same. It's about connecting to who we are, right? And so you got to figure out what you're attracted to as an individual. What's even showing up for you. If you saw Cuddy online and said, "Oh, that guy's kind of funny. I love his pointy hairdo and this and that or whatever."
Everybody goes for the hair.
Well, it's self-evident. This is why I cut mine off, because I want people to focus on how attractive I am, not my hair. But and then somebody down the street says something to you like, "Yeah, I ran into this guy Cuddy the other day. I just saw him online." And then maybe you see a billboard with something that reminded you of it. It's probably because you're attracting that. So notice, people, right? Notice what's showing up for you, because what we need the universe tends to say, "Here it is, here it is, here it is," and it shows it up for us if we're calm and noticing, right? And that's the right people will find us, and you'll find your right path if you're calm and you notice. What I find too, Cuddy, that what blows my mind is what stops people from taking care of themselves.
Yes.
From focusing on their health and wellness, but also for the goal of having deep and meaningful relationships, for the goal of having abundance in their lives, for the goal of that. The things that stop people: I don't have enough time. Right?
It's the myth.
I don't have enough money.
Yeah.
I don't have the willpower. I'm not strong enough. And all these things, as you know, aren't true. That's just monkey mind saying this monkey mind loves what it knows. It loves the patterns of behavior that you already have, because it knows it can survive in those patterns of behavior. Even though they're damaging as hell and they're not good for us long term, monkey mind just wants to survive now.
Yeah.
And so as soon as you threaten those borders, right? So the number one thing I would say to people is have some courage just to take a little step. Because once you take a step and open the door, you're on the path. You can't, it's almost like you can't get off, right? But take that little step, because it's not, self-care isn't as challenging as people believe it is, right?
And that's the thing. I didn't want to stop you because I know you're in flow, so I'm just gonna let.
Oh God, I just go. What, dude? I'll go for this. Is the 7.5 hour podcast with Carl Svangtun at Clear Impact Consulting. I'll go, man. I will. But what are the trends that you see around? For me, what I see is that the common trend is this lack of self-worth. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I don't love myself. Is so predominant in our culture right now. We're trying to measure ourselves against social media and against the most successful, supposedly successful people, because it's all about money in our world. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I don't love myself at the core of it. And everybody, of course, is worthy of self-love. And that's where it has to come from. You can't have a dynamic relationship until you have some depth of love for yourself, right?
It's a beautiful story. It's the story that we all tell.
The path is open, and it doesn't have to be difficult. It's a whole lot easier than our monkey mind wants to tell us. But it just takes a little bit of courage to open the door, and it's a little bit messy walking down the first, through the first couple of rooms of the journey. But it doesn't have to be that difficult, really. And our perspective is you don't have to. And people get afraid that you have to stop stuff. You have to give up your habits. Yeah, but I'm going to have to quit drinking, and I'm going to have to quit eating, Big Macs, and I'm going to have to quit. You know what a Big Mac is over there, right?
Of course we do. We're the UK.
Sorry,
we're not a backwards country. We have McDonald's, Carl.
Yeah, right. Well, dude, it's not England. It is Scotland, right? Sorry, all the Scottish listeners out there. I've been there. You got a beautiful country. I'm sure there's food that grows there. I don't know what it is, but it's a beautiful country. Anyway, yeah, it's not that difficult. It's just a bit messy, and I find growth exciting. I find being in a state of, Adam would say this. It's not about feeling good. It's about feeling, to him, it's about feeling like you're in a state of growth, that you're always growing, that you're always learning, that you're generating from the heart. It just feels amazing to be there and to do that. And we all need it, because we've created these beliefs. Our culture and our society has created beliefs about what life is, and it's a very capitalist sort of viewpoint in the Western world. And I consider, obviously, Europe, North America being sort of the Western world.
Yep.
And there's a lot of falseness to that, because there's a gap in fulfillment that capitalism cannot provide.
It's the attachment of happiness, isn't it?
Yeah. So there. What else do you want to talk about?
Well, not Carl. I was waiting for you to take a breath, to be honest with you, because I have got 1,000 questions for you. Because we haven't even touched on any of the things we wanted to talk about. Because
sorry, we're talking about basketball, right?
You being Canadian, I'm sure we were talking about hockey. I'm sure.
Sorry, I got off topic. All right, hit me with a question.
So no, it was because
and our
I'm waiting. I know. Yeah, it's all right. I know there's a bit of a time delay. Have you just paused on purpose so it looks like you're frozen?
Oh no! Sorry. I'll do that once in a while just to trip you up. Now that I know.
No,
go ahead. Ask me.
If you listen, I mean, even it's kind of, I know we can talk about flow states, and I know we can talk about meditation and all those things, and it's just how we are getting coded right now with absolutely everything. Whether I don't watch the news, I'm a big believer in don't watch.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm not good choice.
Sure whether it's I don't. Even me as a person who likes to learn new things, I'm like, I just don't want to know if it's true or if it's not true. And everyone says, no, you've got to be informed. And I'm like, I don't think I need to be informed about all these things.
But that's not information. It's biased and controlled information.
Yeah.
And if we want to have positivity, we got to control our inputs.
Absolutely.
I saw a guy years ago that said, control your ear gate, control your eye gate, and most importantly, control this gate. Not talking about eating, I'm talking about what comes out of it.
Yeah.
In terms of positivity, because if everything we hear is negative, and if we surround ourselves with toxic people, watch the mainstream news, which is predominantly toxic. It's the same stories repeated over and over again to make us feel bad. It's all negativity and drama, and it's as we could spin this so it's really hits the heart. We're gonna upset these people, and that's good news. If that's all we get, that's what we're gonna be letting out as well.
That's what comes out. Yeah,
100%. I don't watch the news.
Whatever comes in absolutely comes out. So that's, and I mean, I suppose if you look at it like that, that's the beauty of social media, because you can block what you want and you can pick what you want to take in on social media. You can pick Goldcast feeds. You can pick nice podcast. You can, here we go. Here's a plug. You could pick Monkey Mind podcast.
You could. Just recently. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
We've all been waiting for it for some time, Cuddy. So thank you for starting it. It's a beam of light when all around is dark.
It pretty much did. Yes, he did with a blue background. I completely understand that. So your journey is, because we did want to talk about plant medicine, because the whole premise of the whole show is giving people options and choices. Even though there's books out there, there's 1,001 podcasts out there that tells you that there's so many different options. But what struck a chord when we first started talking, just before we started doing the podcast, was you were part of corporate America. You were miserable. You were...
Whoa. Don't say America. Corporate Canada.
Well, do you know what? You said England when I'm in Scotland, so we'll have to make
that, it's fair enough. Okay. Touche. Not bringing the French into it, but yeah.
So talk to me about the demise of the previous version of Carl, the demise of unhappiness.
So I grew up in Vancouver, BC. It's right on the Pacific Ocean in the western edge of Canada, right near the border of the US. Most Canadians live within 100 miles of the border because they have warmth down there. So we like to huddle up against the warmth, because Canada's pretty big northern country, right? I grew up pretty normal kid, middle class family, British and Norwegian parents, immigrants. Not a lot of love in my household, and I think the basis of my stuff We never hugged, never kissed, never said I love you. I never learned how to love myself. I never really got affirmed. And so I had a gap, like most of us go through some type of trauma when we're young. And trauma to a child doesn't have to be sexual, physical abuse. It can be very subtle. To a 2-year-old, trauma is different than what it is to a 20-year-old, right?
Yep.
So I went through my stuff, and my shit was I'm not worthy.
Yep.
And I went through high school. I was a burnout. I was, a lot of drinking, a lot of drugs, a lot of stuff. But at the same time, I was a smart kid. I got my accounting designation. I went into business, seemed to just land job after job that really was great. And I joined a firm with a great man who developed a really, really good culture, a company called Sunrich Fresh Foods, the fresh cut fruit processor. We grew to be the biggest in North America. Amazing group of people and a really great leader in Brian Teason, if I can call him out, who taught me a lot when I wasn't ready to learn it. He gave me some lessons. When I look back now, what he was teaching me then, I wasn't present to hear it.
Yeah, I get it.
Because I was all revved up, and I was all revved up in here, needing everyone to like me. My shit was, I need you to like me, because if you don't like me, then I'm proving that I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
So I was the funny guy, I was the smart guy, and I was the interrupter and the bad listener. And I make you can hear it when I talk. I just go because I don't, and I needed everyone to like me. Now I became very successful. Accountant, general manager, vice president, chief operating officer, making stupid amounts of money. And so I had this great lifestyle. I made a lot of money, a lot of partying, a lot of drinking, had a beautiful wife, a wonderful person. We're still great friends. We're not married anymore, but she's an amazing person. 2 great kids. So I've got this great life. So what's wrong, right? What do you got to complain about? I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. I felt revved up all the time, just revved up. And if I wasn't doing something, I had a drink in my hand. And if I was, or a joint in my hand. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll just let it ring. And my phone's in the background. It's my mother. I have to pick her up. I am going to have to take a break in a moment to do that. And so I was so revved up and unhappy, but I couldn't ask for help because I'm a man. Men aren't supposed to ask for help. And I was lost, and I didn't know where to turn to. And so that career ended, fortunately, and I went traveling. And my first stop really in self-development was to do plant medicine in the jungles of Peru. Is it possible to pause this and to restart? Can you do that with a podcast or no?
Well, why don't we just do a part 1 and a part 2 then?
Okay, great. So let me go through this, sir, because actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to let you enjoy this because this is part of family, and family is really important. I'm at my place up on the lake, and it's been so hot here, and my mom's staying at the lodge because she would die. She's 91, and she's supposed to come down here for coffee and breakfast. And it's 7 o'clock, and I haven't gotten to get her yet. So I'm going to call her right now. She's going to be very angry when she answers.
Not a problem.
But I have to go and get her. So I'm going to talk 5 more minutes, and then we'll sign off, and we'll come back on again. Is that cool?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a great chat. 100%.
Hang on a second. I didn't answer, and I haven't picked her up yet. She's not answering. I got her a new phone. She may not know how to answer it. Mom. Oh, God. Oh, she's probably leaving me a message. She'll try this again in a sec. So, first step of the journey for me, fortunately, I've always been a spontaneous person, and I'm willing to try anything. So I think for me, taking a step of, I need something different in my life, and I need something for me, wasn't as difficult. And I think I had already subtly started to look to improve myself. And we talked about before with yoga, with, eating a little bit better. But somebody had mentioned to me, and this is how I mentioned this power of attraction thing. Somebody said, hey, you should try ayahuasca. It's, and I read one page online, and it said, find your life's purpose. And I'm like, oh, my life's purpose? Who doesn't want to know their life's purpose, right? And so I went there, and I got there, and I oh my God, what have I done? Like I've done a lot of acid when I was a kid, a lot of mushrooms, a lot of psychedelics. Oh my God, what have I done? Because I was afraid. I was so afraid because not because it's like doing 20 hits of acid, which it is, and you go and you lose. It's about losing control.
Yeah.
It's about stepping into the void and not being in control. It's about being afraid of confronting my stuff.
Yeah.
I'd love to tell you the story about that. And it was the big kick in the ass I needed to move forward. Probably a really good place to stop because I gotta go get mom.
Let's
And
do that. Honestly,
you're gonna want to hear the story because it's crazy.
I'm enthralled already, so we have to come back to this into a part 2.
Okay.
100% we do.
Let me give you a call back. I'll message you back in about 10 when I get back here. Okay.
Not a problem. That's fine.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
I'll do a sign off for you. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Part 2 will be coming up very shortly, so you can check it out on Spotify. I'm Cuddy Cudworth, the host of Monkey Mind Podcast, chatter about the chatter, and we will have part 2 with Carl Svangtun coming up very shortly.